So my name is Matt Tower. I'm the Western Region Wildlife Manager working for the Wildlife Branch for the province of Manitoba. The Turkey Trap and Transfer program is probably one of the favorite programs probably one of my favorite programs that I get to work on as part of the branch. Basically, the program has two main goals or outcomes. Essentially, what we're looking to do is move birds from problem sites, so to address those problem sites with landowners, property owners, farmers, and move them to an area where suitable habitat exists, but maybe turkeys aren't as abundant or not abundant at all, in order to establish populations to create opportunities for hunters. So that's kind of the two main goals of this program, and yeah, it's really neat. I mean, we get to work with producers. We couldn't do it with willing landowners. As well as our connections with MWF and Wild Gobblers. Lee and Bruno are great to work with. We couldn't do it with them. And then our branch staff that helped to make it happen. So it's really a great program that exhibits a really great collaboration between organizations.
I'm Lee Robbins. I'm on the board of directors of Manitoba Wildlife Federation. I'm also a member of Brandon Wildlife Association. I've been involved with the Wild Gobblers Trap and Transfer program for probably 10 or 12 years, I guess. Wild turkeys, they can become a bit of a problem sometimes if they end up in places like where they're not welcome. Generally in urban areas, small towns and cities, they tend to like bird feeders and that sort of thing, and lots of the people like them in the city until they start walking around on top of their car or roosting on their deck or something, and then they want them removed. And I guess there's probably only a couple options for that. One would be to euthanize them, and the other is to trap them and move them to a suitable location where they can live in the wild. That's what the program does. We trap them and then they're banded and released in suitable areas.
My name is Bruno Brudelin. I'm on a board of directors for the Manitoba Wildlife Federation. I'm also a member of the Rivers and Area Game and Fish, and also an affiliate member of the Brandon Wildlife and the Rapid City Wildlife Association. We go out and find, landowners that are willing to have wild turkeys on our property, and with the whole idea it's going to be a huntable population too. We don't put turkeys to a place where they don't allow hunting.
Generally, if it's a problem birds, then usually either the town or the Mines and Natural Resources will contact us to go and have a look at the site, see if it's suitable for trapping the birds. And if it is, then generally we'll put out bait so that the birds will come and eat the bait, and then after they get comfortable with that, we'll set up the trap and let them come into the trap for a day or two, and then set and wait, and when the time comes, then we'll drop the trap, and the birds are then usually relocated. There's transfer boxes here behind me here, but they're relocated to the holding pen here, or there's another one down by Treeherne. They're held there until suitable time for release. You can't release them in the winter if there's a bunch of snow on that, because they'll just perish. They won't be able to find food. So they're held here until a suitable time for release, and then they're banded and released at the site. Generally, we try and start in February sometime so that we don't have to hold them too long in the holding pens. So February and March is generally when most of the trapping is done.
Right now, we're basically dealing with turkeys that are, say, overabundant or causing a problem on a property. That's kind of what causes us to come in and remove the birds from that site. Ideally, I think what we would like to get to at a certain point is where we're more strategic, where we can target populations that are overabundant, where maybe we don't get a call about issues, but we can use that as a source to distribute these birds and establish populations elsewhere. But mainly right now it's dealing with those problem sites because we have enough of them. So really, like where we can identify that wild turkeys are really abundant and where we may be getting calls with complaints with them hanging around yards or whatever it is, we see that as a great opportunity to be able to move those birds to a spot where they can live without causing conflict and providing that opportunity for hunters and establishing populations where suitable habitat exists.
Yes, to apply for a release, you have to be a wildlife association, which is an affiliate of the Manitoba Wildlife Federation, has to apply for the release. So that's the Brandon Wildlife applied for the release here, and that's how it started in this part of the country. So.
Well, I know I can speak from experience with the rivers and area game and fish. We've probably, I'm not sure what the word is, sponsored various relocations in the area. There's one of the ones we go to today is, we started that about 3 years ago, and so the club is pretty instrumental in the whole process. They contact the landowners, or the landowners contacted them, and they then contact us and the province to get those turkeys if possible.
Yeah, so the process for identifying sites for release, basically, like I said, we can't do that without the involvement of the game and fish clubs locally. So we get a request from, again, we deal with Bruno and Lee often about who speak with those game and fish clubs to identify the sites. They will submit an application that we've formulated. They'll submit it to us, we'll review it, make sure that it's in an area where the birds won't become a future problem, and obviously where suitable habitat exists. And in a lot of cases, we're looking for that habitat and feed that they can survive in the winter. So in a lot of cases, it's cattle farms or livestock farms, where obviously they'd be willing to have birds, wild turkeys hang around their place. So yeah, that's basically it. We get the application from the game and fish clubs, and we'll review them. And once they're approved, then we send them back to the game and fish clubs. It's all signed off, and we can move forward from there. So wild turkeys, they're largely only present in southern Manitoba, right? And the majority of the landscape is owned privately. So without the involvement of private landowners and their willingness to, and I guess passion for conservation of these birds and willingness to have them on their farms, this program doesn't exist, basically. We have some crown land that we could put them on, but in a lot of cases they're relying on these cattle farms to survive during the winter, and then obviously spread out during the spring and summer where food becomes more abundant. So yeah, these relationships that we've developed, and again, Wild Gobblers and MWF and the game and fish clubs that have developed with these producers, we couldn't do it without them.
My name is Colin Hunter. We got involved with the turkey release program because initially there was some problem turkeys in some towns and they wanted to move them out. And basically that was the first time we had turkeys. They brought them out and we released them next to where the cattle were, and they've been, I think we've had 5 years now of bringing turkeys out. We seem to have a steady flock of about 35 turkeys on the place. We know that they have moved from this farm, moved out in the spring over quite a large area.
My name's Russ Sloan. We've had a lot of birds. We started out with 45. They multiplied to 60. And then this year we got another 27, and we anticipate them to continue on. I think it's established here. Yeah, we have, with the last release, we've got just shy of 90 birds now. And I feel pretty confident that they're going to stick around here. Yeah, in the wintertime they're near the feed yard, but there's, like, they stick to themselves, and I mean, they're here, but not that they're bothering us or inconvenience to us in any way. No, they're fine. And in the summer months, you have to go look for them. Like if you're out in the fencing or checking cows or something, then you'll come up on them, but they're not going to be near the yard in the summertime.
They disperse this time of year. They disperse out and spread out through the countryside. But we've had there's been one turkey released here which had a band on it, which was caught by Riding Mountain National Park by the game wardens up there. So they travel a fair area. You're talking 80 odd kilometres. We were surprised. It was when it was actually at the gate of the national park and the warden's there, it was only the band which told us it came from the release here.
We have a 6-acre field north of the yard here that we winter graze corn. With the cattle graze it over a couple of months, and then in the springtime you go out and disc it, and usually there's big piles of manure from the cows interacting in the field. And this spring it was leveled off by the turkeys and their action out there to pick corn and whatever else they find. Yeah, there's a lot of corn that the cows don't utilize. If you have a good year of corn, they can't use it all, and it passes through, so the turkeys are obviously using it up because there's no corn seeds there. It's just flat ground. So the turkeys have used them.
So there's some challenges. I mean, with every volunteer organization and government and landowners, and it takes a lot of communication. And everybody's. I think we got our premier done, good, but it takes a lot of communication, so everybody's on the same page, and everybody knows the intent of why we're doing this, and the relocations. All the birds that are captured at various locations and brought back here, and then we band them all. And the banding does multiple things. You get a lot of data from it, because if that bird is shot in a certain area, or it moves to a different area or something like that. So
I guess our involvement from the wildlife branch is, again, like I said, we partner with the local game and fish clubs, largely Bruno and Lee, and MWF in general, to will assist with trapping where needed, but largely that's them. They'll identify these sites, they'll go out and trap the birds, and then from there, often the way and I guess I'm speaking from Western region perspective, how we handle things and how it's been dealt with over the last couple of years is once the birds are in a pen, well, basically they'll be trapped at the problem site. They'll move the birds to a pen, a holding pen, and then from there we'll go in, ban those birds, collect data, things like sex and age, and do some other measurements like beard length and presence or absence of beard if it's a hen, spur length, things like that. We'll ban them at site, and then we'll take them and we'll travel with them, release them at the site that we're planning on releasing at. And I guess to speak a little bit more on the banding side of things, the banding, at this stage we're banding every single bird that we capture and release. So it's relatively simple, and it allows us to collect really useful, meaningful data that we couldn't really collect otherwise. So it's super beneficial. We can collect information to do with harvest rates, distance traveled from birds. Like, for example, Colin was speaking about a bird that was banded here actually, and was actually identified on a live bird with a spotting scope near Riding Mountain. Yeah, so we can collect a lot of useful information with these bands, and we actually have a new website that some staff have developed for this year, and that's on the band. So it makes it easier for hunters to be able to return that information to us if they shoot a banded bird. And on top of all that, me as a hunter and a lot of people as hunters, we want to shoot a banded bird. So hunter involvement's huge, and having that, we're releasing a lot of birds with bands, so your likelihood is increasing each year we do this project to shoot a banded bird. And I think, everyone's pretty excited to be able to have that chance. So it's pretty cool.
Well, the hunting opportunities can be really good, especially for mentoring youth hunting or first-time hunters. It's a great opportunity for that. Brandon Wildlife always takes several youth out every year on mentored hunts, and And it's also makes very good table fare. It's good hunting for anybody. They, if you cook them properly, they're very tasty. So.
Well, I started turkey hunting just recently, and yes, it creates definitely opportunities. It's that were never there before, and there's more and more people actually engaging in turkey hunting, and it's not easy. It sounds like turkeys are an easy bird hunt. They're not. They're quite challenging. It's in the spring of the year, the toms and the hens and all that, and you got the decoys out, and it's very enjoyable. I enjoy it.
Turkey hunting's, it's tons of fun, and I mean, especially during the spring too. It's kind of a unique season other than hunting bears, really. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's multiple ways that you can go about hunting turkeys. I've hunted them with a bow. I've hunted them kind of like a run and gun style with a shotgun. Either way is always fun. With the bow, often it's with a ground blind, for me anyway. So kind of a little bit more stationary, do your homework. It's pretty exciting. It's kind of like if anyone's ever elk hunted or anything too, it's that you get a response from a bird and you can chase them, you can decide what to do. It's kind of like you can locate them and then figure out your game plan from there. You could also set up off of a roost and try to call them off the roost. There's so many different ways that you can go about it, but it's just like action-packed, set up decoys. The birds often come in aggressive, trying to, take out your decoy or whatever it is. And yeah, it's just tons of fun. It's an exciting hunt, and they taste delicious too. Yeah, the program has been a large success, and we're planning on, I guess, ramping up the program into the future. The goal is to continue this and to establish populations where they don't exist, to create those hunting opportunities in other areas. It's been a massive success so far. A lot of our release sites, again, because we take the care to identify those sites that are going to be suitable, that'll ensure that the birds have what they need to survive and that they can successfully establish a population. There are sites that don't work out, and then we learn from that as well. So it's about identifying those efficiencies and I guess just to make sure that it is, that we're releasing at sites that work.
Yeah, I mean, the success of the relocation program is basically, you got to give credit to the volunteers, the people that do a lot of work, and the unsung heroes. It's we're always looking for volunteers to help out. And it's when they're in the trap there, it's you got to move them, right? You can't wait till the weekend or something like that. You got to act quite soon. So it's a good program. I like it. It's has a lot of benefits for future hunters in Manitoba, and it's definitely continue with it.
We are always looking for more volunteers to help out with anything along that line. So if somebody's interested, you can certainly contact Bruno.